that the collapse in October was the inevitable end of an unsustainable banking investment and consumption boom. Can you explain to us how it was possible that as late as in September last year, this nation still believed that we were going to have a soft landing, that everything was going to be all right here?
Well, people have an almost unlimited capacity for deceiving themselves, even greater than the capacity for deceiving others. And when you've been on what you consider to be a winning streak, when every bet you made appears to have paid off, then the notion that all this wealth that you, your family, your friends have been accumulating over these last 10 years could just be the manifestation of a gigantic bubble is just not conceivable. People are in denial because they cannot face the horror of the potential reality that this could all be a house of cards.
Now, does this go for everyone? I mean, the authorities and the directors of the banks as well. Last summer, Copenhagen was trying to get some money from Qatar to buy 20% of their shares and believe even that this would have saved the bank.
No, that would simply have prolonged the agony if it had been successful. And if it had been successful, it would probably have led to a further building up of the size, the excessive size of the bank's balance sheet. So the eventual crash would have been even bigger. No, the banking system was too large to be sustained by the Icelandic Monetary Authority and underneath that by the fiscal capacity of the Icelandic state. This was a completely out of control banking system that had to contract. It could have contracted in an orderly fashion maybe 2 or 3 years ago, but once we got to 2007, certainly mid of 2008, only a violent implosion was going to end the boom.
Now, about our currency, you've said that we must get into the Eurozone, but I mean, just politically, it's impossible that we will become members of the EU for the next 2 or 3 years, and we need an interim arrangement. The economists might say you should join a monetary union, maybe with the Nordic countries or a Nordic country. But what if no one wants us? What if no one wants us in a monetary union? What do we do?
If these temporary monetary unions with the Nordic brothers and sisters are not possible, then you have to basically muddle along with your own currency until you can get into the EU and the Eurozone. The proposals for unilateral adoption, for instance, of the euro are wrong and would be catastrophic, I think, for 2 reasons. First, it would not provide you with a lender of last resort. Now, the Central Bank of Iceland can't print euros, so it would not help dealing with liquidity problems of the banking system. More importantly, it would violate the membership rules for economic and monetary union, and so would prevent the country from ever adopting the euro officially as a full member of the Eurozone and have the benefit of access to the lender of last resort facilities of the ECB and the euro system. So if you don't want to get into the EU, by all means, unilaterally euroize. If you want to get into the EU and into the Eurozone, do everything except the unilateral euroization.
But if we just look around and say that we're not going to adapt another currency for a while, we're going to see what happens with the EU, it means that we're probably then going to have currency restrictions for quite a long time.
Yes. If you do not get a credible currency from outside, then you'll have to muddle on with your own currency, the krona, and that will require continued capital restrictions, capital account restrictions, and indeed foreign exchange restrictions. Sorry. And yes, that will be the price that will have to be paid, although the very announcement that you are actively seeking EU and Eurozone membership might enhance your credibility and might make the markets less willing and eager to test the authorities in the foreign exchange markets.
Now, you said that the crisis is going to worsen internationally and that governments should nationalize troubled banks faster and earlier. What will the international economy look like in a couple of years?
Well, I think most of the big border-crossing banks in what I call the North Atlantic region, Western Europe and North America, will be effectively in public ownership. In the United States, they're likely to call it something else, but these entities will no longer be operating as private business in any meaningful sense of the word, because they will be guaranteed, partly owned, repeatedly recapitalized by the government. So we're going to have a strange and undoubtedly rather inefficient, but there's nothing else on offer, form of 60–70% socialization of finance in the North Atlantic region. An extraordinary situation.